Alex had always been known among his friends as someone who lived on the edge. Life for him was never about playing it safe or following rules. He loved challenges, loved testing his limits, and loved pushing himself into situations that most people would avoid. Sometimes it was climbing tall trees in the middle of the city just to see the view from the top, or running along the edge of a cliff while his friends called out warnings. To Alex, all of it was part of life's excitement. He often said that fear was just a feeling, not a law, and he never let it control him. On this particular day, Alex had set his sights on one of the tallest cliffs in his area, a massive rock formation that rose sharply against the horizon. The cliff was famous among thrill seekers, but it was also dangerous. The paths were uneven, the rock slippery from recent rain, and one wrong step could lead to disaster. But Alex didn't see danger the way most people did. To him, it was just part of the adventure. He packed a small bag with a few essentials, mostly water and some snacks, and started his climb early in the morning when the sun was just rising. The sky was painted with soft shades of pink and orange, a perfect backdrop for the daring feat he had planned. As he climbed higher and higher, Alex felt the familiar rush of adrenaline pumping through his veins. Every time his fingers found a grip, or his boots landed safely on a narrow ledge, he felt alive in a way he never could anywhere else. Around him, the world below seemed calm and distant, like a painting. The wind whipped past him, tugging at his clothes and hair, but he welcomed it. He felt free, unstoppable, and more connected to the earth than he had ever felt before. However, as he neared the top, a sudden misstep changed everything. One of the rocks he grabbed was loose, and before he could react, it shifted under his weight. He tried to catch himself, but the rock gave way entirely, sending him sliding and tumbling down the cliff face. The fall wasn't long, but it was harsh. He crashed into rocks and dirt, his body twisting in ways that made him cry out in pain. For a moment, everything was a blur of sharp edges and flying debris. When he finally stopped, he was lying on a small ledge midway down the cliff. He could feel every ache, every bruise, and every pain in his body. But even in that moment when most people would panic or scream for help, Alex's first reaction was almost casual. He looked around, dusted himself off as best he could, and muttered, "Well, that was exciting." He wasn't sure which part of his body hurt the most, but he figured he could handle it. He always could. Little did he know, he was not alone. Far above, hovering silently in the sky, a sleek silver ship observed the scene. The craft was unlike anything human eyes were familiar with. Smooth, glowing, and perfectly silent, it descended slowly, as if drawn to Alex's presence. Inside the ship, a group of beings with translucent skin and large, expressive eyes watched the unfolding accident. They had come to Earth to study human life, to understand how humans survived in ways other creatures couldn't. And now, they had their first real opportunity. The beings exchanged curious glances, their bodies glowing faintly as they adjusted their monitoring equipment. Subject exhibits unusual calm under extreme physical stress. One of them communicated in a series of melodic tones that the ship's translator converted into English for convenience. This is rare among humans. Observation is required, immediately. Moments later, the ship touched down gently on a nearby plateau. Its doors opened silently, revealing smooth, elegant corridors and tools designed for precise medical observation. The aliens moved swiftly but carefully, not wanting to frighten Alex. They had sophisticated equipment that could scan, diagnose, and even heal, but they preferred to observe behavior first. They were fascinated. No human had ever behaved like this under such trauma. Alex noticed them almost immediately, though at first he thought they were some kind of researchers or adventurers themselves. They didn't speak in a way he could immediately understand, but their presence intrigued him. He sat up slowly, brushing dirt from his clothes, and waved casually at the approaching figures. "Hey there. Don't worry, I'm fine. Just a little tumble," he called out with a grin. The aliens paused, momentarily confused by his light-hearted tone. One of the beings stepped forward, extending a hand with delicate tools and devices glowing faintly. "Assessment. Necessary," the translator said. Alex laughed, waving his hand dismissively. Oh, I'm okay. Really? It's just a scratch. Happens all the time. He managed a small, crooked smile despite the ache running through his body. The aliens exchanged glances again, their eyes wide with surprise. From everything they had observed in human biology so far, such injuries should have caused panic, severe pain, and immobilization. Instead, Alex seemed entirely unconcerned. Their scanners began running automatically, silently mapping his bones, muscles, and vital signs. They noted irregularities immediately. Alex, meanwhile, started to shift around, testing his strength and flexibility. Not as bad as it looks, he said, even though he could feel soreness in almost every part of his body. He stretched his fingers, shook out his arms, and began attempting to stand, more to prove a point to himself than anyone else. The aliens watched silently, taking notes, unable to understand how a creature could endure so much without showing the expected weakness or fear. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting warm golden light across the landscape, Alex continued his casual attitude, joking with the aliens in his own way, though he could barely see how they might understand humor. You guys sure are quiet, he said, wincing slightly as he shifted. Where's the fun in just floating around like that? Come on, loosen up a little. The aliens made careful movements, scanning, observing, and recording everything. They had never encountered such resilience. Their instruments began to detect fractures, microcracks, and stress points in Alex's bones, injuries that would immobilize most humans. Yet Alex moved, spoke, and even smiled as though nothing significant had happened. By the time they had finished their initial observation, it was clear that Alex was unlike any human they had previously studied, and while most humans would have panicked at this point, Alex only laughed softly, brushing dirt off his jacket and looking up at the hovering craft. Well, that was a bit of excitement for today, he said, tilting his head and squinting at the strange lights of the alien ship. Not exactly how I planned my morning, but hey, it works. The aliens, still silent but communicating among themselves, realized they had discovered something remarkable. A human who could endure extreme physical trauma with a calm, almost indifferent attitude. For them, this was not just observation. It was a new understanding of human capability. And for Alex, it was just another day in a life filled with daring adventures, challenges, and unexpected surprises. The alien doctors were not prepared for what they discovered. As soon as their advanced scanners began their work, a series of glowing images appeared in the air above Alex. The lights traced the outline of his body, highlighting the tiniest fractures and cracks in his bones. Each line pulsed with information, showing the exact location, severity, and potential impact of every injury. And then, as the data fully materialized, the aliens realized something astonishing. Alex had 17 broken bones. For most humans, even a single fracture would be debilitating. 2 or 3 might confine them to a bed for weeks. But Alex, sitting cross-legged on a flat rock and brushing dust off his hands, looked completely unbothered. He yawned, stretched, and said, 17? Really? That's nothing. The alien's translator blinked, trying to make sense of the words. Nothing? One of the doctors repeated in a melodic tone. Their eyes, wide and filled with curiosity, studied his every movement. They observed as Alex slowly stood up, carefully, testing his weight on each leg. Despite the pain that should have been evident, he moved with surprising balance. He even began walking toward the edge of the cliff, testing his steps as if he were completely uninjured. The doctors whispered to one another in tones that sounded like music to human ears, their voices vibrating with disbelief. This is highly irregular, one said. All fractures indicate extreme pain. Subject should be incapacitated. Why is he functioning? Alex noticed their attention and smiled faintly. You're staring at me a lot. Don't worry, I'm fine, really, he said, lightly tapping his shoulder where a hairline crack ran through his collarbone. Just a little discomfort. Happens all the time. The alien doctors, puzzled, decided to continue their diagnostic scan more thoroughly. They activated additional sensors, creating a soft, humming light that wrapped around Alex like a protective cocoon. The scanners measured his bones, muscles, heart rate, blood flow, and even subtle neural signals. Each display showed the extent of the damage: fractured ribs, cracked wrists, hairline fractures in the spine, and multiple breaks in his legs. Despite the severity of the injuries, Alex remained calm. He flexed his fingers and toes, feeling the minor aches that shot through him. "Yeah, okay, this one hurts a bit," he admitted, tapping a swollen ankle, "but nothing I can't handle." He chuckled at his own words as if saying, "Nothing I can't handle" was a habit ingrained in him for life. The aliens, meanwhile, were completely baffled. They had studied thousands of humans, observing how they reacted to minor and moderate injuries. They had prepared themselves for shock, pain responses, and extreme fear. None of it appeared here. Alex's brain seemed to regulate pain differently, suppressing fear while still registering every impact. Their advanced instruments were unable to fully explain how one human could withstand so much trauma and remain functional. "Subject demonstrates unusual pain tolerance," another alien observed. "All physical systems are operational despite multiple structural failures." They paused, analyzing their notes. "This challenges all our previous understanding of human anatomy." Alex, feeling a bit self-conscious about the attention, scratched his head and smiled. "Look, I know I'm not your typical patient," he said lightly, "but I've been in scrapes before. Cliffs, bikes, minor accidents, you name it. Bones heal, bruises fade. You can't let a little pain slow you down." The alien doctors exchanged signals, sharing data and interpretations. They had never encountered such a combination of physical resilience and mental calm. Their systems even tried to estimate his recovery time, but the results were inconclusive. Standard calculations suggested that it could take months or even years for a human with 17 fractures to regain basic mobility. Yet Alex, with his calm demeanor, seemed to ignore every limitation. Noticing his slight discomfort in a wrist, Alex lifted it, flexing gently. "Yep, this one's a little sore, but I can still grip things, so we're good." He picked up a small stick from the ground and waved it around like a sword, laughing softly. The aliens flinched at the movement, unsure if they should intervene, but Alex remained steady. As the scans continued, the aliens recorded every detail. They observed how Alex's muscles adjusted, compensating for fractures, how his bones absorbed stress in ways their instruments didn't fully understand, and how his body kept vital functions stable despite extreme trauma. Each moment added new information to their understanding, yet none of it made complete sense. Alex, noticing the glowing projections around him, asked curiously, "What's all this? Some kind of magic show?" He reached out and touched one of the holographic lines representing a fracture. The lights shimmered, moving with his touch. He tilted his head, intrigued, but still casual, completely unfazed by the revelations. Tau, aliens, realizing Alex was conscious, alert, and fully aware of their monitoring, decided to try communication more directly. One of the doctors extended a delicate glowing device toward him. "Medical intervention recommended," the translator said. Alex nodded thoughtfully, tapping his chin. "Intervention, huh? You think I need help?" he said with a grin. "Well, I appreciate it, but I think I can manage. These bones, just scratches, really." His voice carried a mixture of humor and confidence, which only deepened the aliens' curiosity. They hesitated. They were programmed to act when a human was injured, but Alex's calmness defied their protocols. Here was a being who could survive severe trauma, shrug it off, and remain fully functional. Their systems ran calculations, estimates, and simulations, but nothing matched what they were witnessing in reality. Alex began walking carefully along the flat rock area, testing his strength. "I know I look worse than I feel," he admitted to the hovering doctors. "But trust me, I've been through enough bumps and falls to know when something's serious. Right now, this is nothing." The aliens recorded every word, gesture, and movement. They noticed small winces, subtle shifts in posture, and micro-adjustments in balance. To them, Alex was a living puzzle, a mystery of human resilience they could not yet solve. Hours passed, though it felt shorter to Alex because he stayed engaged with his surroundings. He joked, he tested his movements, he stretched cautiously, and he even hummed a tune he liked. The alien doctors continued scanning, mapping, and recording, fascinated by every detail. They could see internal signals, minor swelling, and bone misalignments that were usually critical. Yet Alex navigated all of it with the ease of someone taking a morning stroll. By the end of the observation period, the aliens were more intrigued than ever. They had expected panic, screams, or immobilization. Instead, they had witnessed a human who could endure extreme pain, fractured bones, and serious injuries, yet respond with humor, calmness, and resilience. Alex, feeling slightly tired but otherwise confident, finally sat down again. He looked up at the hovering ship and gave a small, satisfied smile. Well, that's done. I guess I survived the cliff, huh? Not bad for a Monday. The aliens silently recorded the statement, storing it, alongside thousands of physiological measurements. They realized that their mission had just taken an unexpected turn. They had set out to study humans, but Alex had now become a case study that could rewrite their understanding of endurance, resilience, and the very nature of what it meant to be human. And for Alex, it was just another day in a life full of adventures, challenges, and scrapes that were apparently no more serious than scratches. After hours of observing Alex and recording data on his unusual resilience, the alien doctors decided it was time to act. Their scanners had shown the full extent of the damage, 17 broken bones spread across his body, and their medical instincts told them that even if he didn't feel it fully, treatment was necessary. In their experience, humans could underestimate injuries, sometimes with fatal consequences. But Alex's calm and confident demeanor puzzled them. The aliens moved gracefully toward him, their glowing hands holding tools and devices that looked like nothing Alex had ever seen. He watched with curiosity, leaning back slightly on the rock as he assessed them. "All right," he said, tilting his head. "Let's see what you've got. Don't hurt me, okay?" He smiled lightly, already sensing that whatever these beings could do would be different from anything on Earth. They began with a small device that hovered around his arm, emitting soft pulses of light. The scanner projected a holographic image of his bones, clearly showing cracks and fractures. Alex glanced at it, shrugged, and said, "Yep, that's about what I expected. Lucky me, right?" He flexed his fingers carefully, feeling the minor aches that traveled through his arm but otherwise remaining remarkably composed. The alien doctors exchanged glances. One of them began to prepare a series of advanced treatments. Nanobots designed to repair bone fractures at a microscopic level, anti-inflammatory fields to reduce swelling instantly, and energy stabilizers to ensure the body didn't go into shock. Normally, these treatments would immobilize a patient, gently guiding them to rest while the body healed. But Alex was not a typical patient. As the first nanobot swarm hovered near his wrist, Alex lightly waved his hand. "Hold on a second. I appreciate the offer, really, but I think we can skip the full magic treatment here. I don't need a total overhaul," he said with a grin. He wasn't trying to be difficult, he simply wanted to experience the recovery in his own way. The aliens paused, unsure how to respond. They were trained to follow protocol strictly. No human had ever refused treatment after sustaining such extensive injuries. After a brief discussion among themselves, they decided to modify their approach. They would provide partial treatment, stabilizing the most critical fractures while letting Alex's body handle the rest naturally. Alex lay down carefully on a flat section of rock while the aliens worked around him. The nanobots moved with incredible precision, repairing key structural weaknesses in his legs and spine. Lights flashed softly as the repairs occurred almost invisibly, and energy fields enveloped him gently to minimize discomfort. Despite the advanced technology, Alex remained calm and even made a few jokes about how fancy the treatment looked. "Wow, you guys really know your stuff," he said, watching the tiny lights dance around his body. "Where did you learn this? University? Secret alien school?" The doctors did not respond verbally, but their eyes, large and expressive, seemed to convey curiosity and mild amusement. Once the most severe fractures were stabilized, Alex sat up slowly, testing his balance. He could feel the difference immediately. His body felt lighter, less strained, and the sharp aches that had threatened to immobilize him were gone. Yet he still retained the natural discomfort that reminded him of what had happened. "All right," he said, flexing his legs and arms. "I think we're getting somewhere. Feels better already." The alien doctors, intrigued by his rapid adaptation, decided to study how Alex's body compensated for injuries. They observed how he shifted, weight, how minor muscles activated to support weakened bones, and how his nervous system maintained stability. Alex, unaware of the full complexity of their analysis, continued to move naturally, testing small jumps and stretches. "See?" he said with a chuckle. "Nothing I can't handle. You'd be surprised how fast you get used to this kind of thing." He glanced at the hovering ship with a playful grin. "Honestly, you guys could probably learn a lot about human toughness if you just hung out on Earth for a while." The doctors continued their work carefully, now focusing on smaller fractures in his hands, ribs, and collarbone. Each repair was subtle, meant to stabilize rather than completely heal, allowing Alex's body to maintain its own resilience. They also monitored his heart rate, blood flow, and neural responses, fascinated by how his body adapted to stress and injury simultaneously. Alex lay back again, feeling the warmth of the energy fields around him. "You know," he said casually, "most people would be panicking about this many broken bones. Not me, though. I've learned that freaking out doesn't fix anything. Just deal with it and keep going." The aliens recorded every word and movement, their systems capturing both physiological and psychological data. After a while, the immediate treatment was complete. Alex stood, testing his mobility carefully. The alien doctors observed how his balance improved, how minor pain didn't affect coordination, and how his muscles naturally compensated for the repaired areas. "Impressive," one of them communicated silently to the others. "Subject is functioning at a level beyond expectations. Physical and mental resilience combined." Alex stretched again, a little tired but smiling. "Well, I guess that's it for today, huh? Feeling better already thanks to you guys. You didn't have to go all out, though. I could have managed, honestly." He picked up a small stick from the ground and swung it playfully, as if testing strength and dexterity. Every movement was smooth, controlled, and confident despite the multiple injuries. The alien doctors noted every subtle detail, how his grip, strength adjusted, how his stride remained balanced, how his posture shifted naturally to avoid stress on weak points. Each observation gave them more insight into human durability, resilience, and adaptation. They realized that even without their advanced treatments, Alex's body would have found ways to cope, using natural compensations and mental focus. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the rocky plateau, Alex finally sat down and looked at the alien team. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "this is one of the more interesting mornings I've had. Cliff climbing, almost breaking everything inside me, and then meeting a bunch of, well, I don't even know what you are. But thanks for helping out." The aliens recorded the statement silently, storing it alongside hundreds of physiological markers. They had gained more than medical data. They were learning about human psychology, humor, courage, and the unusual way some humans faced extreme adversity. Alex leaned back, letting the last rays of sunlight warm him. "All right," he said. "I think I can handle the rest myself. You've done enough to make sure I don't fall apart completely. Everything else? That's just me doing my thing." He smiled, eyes reflecting a mixture of pain, pride, and humor. For the alien doctors, this day was extraordinary. They had seen extreme injuries, calm responses, and remarkable endurance. But nothing compared to the way Alex carried himself. How he laughed, how he adapted, and how he seemed to defy their expectations at every turn. He wasn't just surviving. He was thriving, even with 17 broken bones. And for Alex, it was simply another step in a life full of adventures, risks, and surprises. proving once again that human determination and courage could sometimes surpass even the most advanced medical technology in unexpected ways. After the treatment, Alex moved more freely than he had expected, though he still felt faint aches and stiffness from his injuries. The alien doctors, curious about the human mind as much as the body, decided to continue observing him. They wanted to understand not just how he survived, but why he survived with such calmness and humor. Alex's attitude was baffling to them. It was entirely unlike the humans they had studied so far. The first few days were quiet. Alex remained in the alien craft for observation, but he treated it like a casual retreat. He explored the sleek corridors with fascination, poking at buttons, observing lights, and occasionally leaning on the walls as he tested his balance. He joked frequently, using humor to make the aliens feel more at ease. "You guys have amazing walls," he said one morning. "Super smooth, almost as good as a rock face, but safer." The aliens watched silently, recording data on his movement, coordination, and energy levels. They noted how Alex's body subtly compensated for still healing bones. Even minor adjustments in posture, the way he shifted weight, or how he bent, his arms were helping him maintain balance. It was a perfect combination of biology and instinct. Alex began to interact with the alien technology more openly. He studied the scanners, pressed buttons, and watched lights move and change. "Whoa, this is crazy," he said, laughing softly. "It's like a whole world inside a machine, and you guys are calm about it. I like that." The aliens seemed intrigued by his curiosity. They had never seen humans react with genuine wonder instead of fear. They decided to test his physical abilities subtly. Alex was asked to walk across the craft, lift small objects, and even climb a short ramp. Each time, the aliens measured his strength, balance, and endurance. They expected him to falter at least a little, but he moved with surprising confidence, adjusting naturally to any discomfort. They exchanged quiet signals, acknowledging that Alex was far beyond normal expectations. "What's your secret?" one of the aliens seemed to ask, though the words were conveyed in melodic tones translated into English. Alex grinned. "Secret? Honestly, I don't know. I guess I just don't panic. Life hits hard sometimes, right? You either handle it or you don't. I choose to handle it." He paused, thinking, then added, "And maybe a little stubbornness helps too." Days turned into a week. Alex started small activities to regain strength and test his body further. He stretched carefully, moved through light exercises, and even practiced minor climbing maneuvers inside the craft, always mindful of his remaining injuries. Each time he tested the boundaries of his endurance, sometimes laughing at himself when he stumbled slightly. The alien doctors observed not just his physical resilience but his mental resilience. Even with multiple fractures, Alex remained calm, focused, and cheerful. He used humor to cope, curiosity to stay engaged, and a determined mindset to move forward. The aliens realized that human endurance was not just about bones and muscles. It was about spirit, mindset, and adaptability. Alex also engaged them socially, asking questions about their world, their technology, and even their purpose on Earth. "So, you guys come all the way here to study humans?" he asked one afternoon, leaning against a smooth wall. "I guess I'm lucky to be your first, remarkable patient?" The aliens responded with melodic sounds and gestures, which the translator converted to explanations about their research. Alex listened intently, nodding occasionally. By the end of the week, Alex could walk more confidently, perform light movements, and even laugh freely without much pain. The alien doctors documented everything meticulously, every step, every reaction, and every micro-adjustment his body made. They realized that Alex's calmness, humor, and willingness to engage physically were just as important as the nanobots and treatments in his recovery. Alex, despite everything, was already thinking ahead. "I feel better than I expected," he said, smiling at the doctors one evening. "Honestly, you didn't have to do much. I think humans are stronger than you give us credit for. Maybe not all of us, but some of us. Yeah." His words seemed to intrigue the aliens even more, giving them a deeper understanding of human variation and resilience. The aliens finally prepared to return Alex to the surface, confident that he could continue his recovery independently. They had recorded more data than they had ever collected on a human in such a short time, and their understanding of human endurance had grown immensely. Alex waved at them as they prepared to leave. "Thanks for the help, really. You guys are fascinating, and I'm glad I got to meet you. Don't forget to study some more humans. They're tougher than you think." With that, the alien ship ascended, leaving Alex standing on the plateau, sunlight falling across his face. He took a deep breath, feeling the wind and the freedom of Earth again. His injuries still throbbed slightly, but he was confident. Life was unpredictable, dangerous at times, but also full of surprises, adventures, and lessons in resilience. Days passed after the aliens left. Alex returned to his normal routines, though more cautiously at first. He resumed climbing, exercising, and testing his endurance, but always mindful of his body. He still had aches from the fractures, but each movement reminded him of his strength and his ability to adapt. He also shared his story selectively with friends, though it was difficult for anyone to truly understand the experience. "You wouldn't believe me even if I told you," he said once, laughing as he described the alien technology and their curiosity. "They scanned me, treated me, and then just watched me, and I didn't even scream once." Through his recovery, Alex reflected on what had happened. It wasn't just the alien technology or their advanced medical systems that had helped him. It was his own mental strength, his refusal to panic, and his ability to stay calm in extreme situations. He realized that human resilience was more than physical. It was emotional, mental, and even spiritual in a way. Weeks later, Alex was fully mobile again. He could climb, run, and move without pain, though he still remembered the fractures that had once caused him concern. He looked at the world differently now. Life was fragile, yes, but it was also incredible. And sometimes the greatest strength came not from avoiding danger, but from facing it with courage, humor, and determination. The alien doctors, back on their ship, recorded Alex as a remarkable case study. He was a human who had endured multiple fractures without panic, who had maintained balance, mobility, and humor, and who had inspired them to reconsider their understanding of human potential. And Alex, standing atop a hill one sunny morning, looking at the horizon, simply smiled. Life had thrown him a serious challenge, and he had met it with everything he had: calm, courage, and a little stubbornness. For him, it was just another adventure, and he was ready for whatever came next.